Sal Diamato, Chris Lee, Junichiro Kamijo, Adelaide Bird, and your winner by split decision. Oh, where am I? Oh, hey there. It looks like we're not at last week. We're at a new week. We're at a new Fireside Chat. Fireside Chat number 3 to go over UFC Fight Night on ABC. Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Tons of great fights. And I'm looking forward to quickly breaking it down and going over possible betting sides here. So we will be choosing wisely today and tonight and tomorrow. Early fights, by the way. So we got to watch weigh-ins for cards like this. I don't want to put out multiple videos with multiple opinions, persuade anyone all over the place to maybe put in anything that could have been misguided. But it's your own decision at the end of the day, and we're looking at the card now. Let's do it. Fireside Chat number 3. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Jessica Penney versus Emily Ducati. Opinion on this really doesn't change. Jessica Penney, at the price she's at, is for sure the side. Do I think she's going to win the fight? Most likely by a split decision of some sort or a decision. I've been thinking, yeah. She goes through grappling now. She lost a really bad decision to a girl that Emily Ducati actually knocked out in Invicta. So it makes her look worse in this matchup. I think that's why the line is where it's at. And we'll get to another line that's weird a little further up the card. But for now, Jessica Penney, most likely by decision. I know she's got some value at plus money. Emily Ducati is, of course, coming in here about 3 weeks' notice on this fight. Penney's original opponent dropped out, and Ducati stepped in. She's game. She'll fight. Penney's just got a veteran will about her and a way to find her grappling and where she's best in the fight. So we'll see. Ducati as well. It's her UFC debut. And as a favorite, there's very few fighters where a favorite price tag is justified without, at least like a contender series fight, something in the UFC spotlight. Victor's not quite the same, so she could fall flat in rounds 2 and 3, and Penney just takes over. So that's why I'm picking that. It's probably an over fight. So on to the next one. Don't want to get too wordy. Dwight Grant versus Dustin Stolfus. The weigh-ins kind of solidified why I want Dustin Stolfus. You can tell Grant, he's not a very filled out fighter at this weight class. He is moving up. After fighting down, at welterweight. So he was knocked out 3 months ago. It's just not long enough. Talked about it with Jalen Turner and the fight that he smoked. So maybe Dustin, because the size doesn't seem there for Grant. It's MMA. Of course, he can catch one on the chin. But we're going to pick him to maybe even get a finish here with his grappling. Yeah. Leg kicks might expose him to a few punches. Grant likes to counter, of course. And Dustin does throw some naked leg kicks sometimes. So I think that's for sure how Grant can land that KO. Maybe possible Dwight Grant round 1 or bust. So depending on the prop, that would be a fun one to bet too. And just have Dustin Stolfus in your parlay is more than likely. Grant was fired up in the weigh-ins. It's kind of cool. He was weird. He's normally like happy-go-lucky, but he was like really in the zone, like kind of crazy. Dustin reaches over at him and he's like, "You okay, bud? Gotta hug this out eventually, But There we go. Yeah, Dustin Stolfus. More than likely. Number 3, Dustin Jacoby versus Daeun Jung. Dustin's not quite as thick as Daeun. I just worry about when handicapping this. I really have no feelings. I know a lot of people are like polarized on both sides, but never been that high on Dustin. If he ever sees this in 100 years, I'm sorry, but I bet against you almost every fight because I don't like fighters that don't have really good ground games. So, and he was like kind of last minute in his last fight against Zajic, but I'll bet against him here. Daeun Jung, he can show to be more dynamic and more powerful. He's younger, can get it done. Naturally, you want to pick an over. Daeun Jung just murders Kennedy Njeku with an elbow through his guard. So Dustin Jacoby has for sure been blasted by Alex Pereira. And Alex Pereira is a middleweight. So Daeun Jung is a light heavyweight. So it's something to consider. Maybe their fight was around the light heavyweight weight class in their kickboxing match. I don't really remember that, but something to consider as well. So Daeun Jung, possibly inside the distance. A lot of back and forth this week. But that's a good fight. Hunter number 4. Bill Algio versus Herbert Burns. Bill Algio likes to give up his back. If Herbert Burns' control is there in this fight, he's going to get submitted. I didn't like how Brito easily took Algio's back. He's kind of scrambling down there, trying to survive the pressure. You know, I'm sure he's been cooked in training a bunch of times and gotten out. I mean, obviously, he's a freaking warrior. Algio is a great, fun fighter. Herbert Burns is just this type of guy, kind of like how Brito starched Andre Fili. The way Algio backs up in a straight line can get him caught. And it also allows Burns to enter into his takedown. So, pretty easy way to cap. Burns just has to survive into the third round and survive the third round, or win the first 2 rounds and survive the third round. Can he do that to win a decision? Or can he just find the finish? I mean, everyone's banking on him to gas, but I don't know. He's, Gilbert Burns is an extremely good grappler. This is his brother. They train together nonstop. Burns is going to bring a grappling level. I feel that Algio just can't give him anything. Like, he can't just get comfortable on the mat being lazy and comfortable with his defense, because Burns can just slice through him. And who knows what will happen. Why would you want that? Or he just gets lazy standing because he's a longer fighter, and Burns just rushes through and smashes him. Just catches him with something on a lazy kick, just like Stolfus could happen to Stolfus. So Burns is a powerful guy. I like him to submit. I like the line for him. He's a good bet this week, I feel like. I don't mind the kill or be killed bets if it comes down to that, because I've seen a clear path to victory in the Brito fight. In Algio, I don't know. Unless he proves to be a different fighter, the over might be a good look too. The over 1.5 or something. Number 5, Ricky Simone, Jack Shore. Jack Shore has a lot of size on Ricky, and that can be a problem because Shore is experienced and he does have skill. And Ricky is kind of like not necessarily that second generation of MMA fighter. He's more like the third, but these fourth generation kind of, or, the the fourth gen MMA. There's the Hoist Gracie level, and there's the Chuck Liddells and Tito Ortizes, and then there's your GSPs, BJ Penn, Matt Hughes eras. That's kind of on the tail end of that, into your John Jones and ultimately into your Khabib kind of like guys with the Russian invasion. And so everyone has to be extremely well-rounded. You can't just be a boxer wrestler for the most part. Unless Pereira just proves that wrong entirely. It just comes in. That's going to be a good fight. But Ricky Simone, Jack Shore, I was getting a little off topic. Jack Shore can find his range in this fight. It's going to be a major problem for Ricky. It's going to catch him on the end and possibly put him down. Ricky's been through some wars. Jack Shore has definitely fought some rounds himself, but UFC rounds I feel like are a little different, and they probably take a little more toll on you than a lot of the regional rounds and the rounds where you're building, getting to that point where you're just proving yourself. So this could just look really bad because Ricky Simone is a great fighter, and I just want to think that neither fighter gets finished, and you just kind of bet the over rounds and be done with it. But Jack Shore is really slick, and I like his grappling too. So he's won me over a little bit. I'd like to see him get it done. It's also a little sketchy. He's not in the London card, and I noticed it earlier in the year where Mark Jacasey fought Slava Claus, and Jacasey just smoked him on the mat. He just laid on him the whole time. And just fought a unanimous decision win and won the fight with ease. It was like a great IQ fight for him. And Jack Shore is put on this ABC card on Long Island, and he's fighting Ricky Simone. He's not quite a Long Islander, but he could possibly be a fan favorite there, so it can be tough. Because he does have a name. He's a lot of fun to watch. The Rafael Suncal fight is a little deceiving because Suncal is a little beaten down, so you can't take that finish for too much. So Jack Shore over, most likely by a decision. If he finds his range really well, Ricky could have a problem. And vice versa, if Jack Shore just crumbles to Ricky's pressure. Yeah, I like that fight. It's a good one. Dalcha Langemboula versus Pumiel Soriano. I don't know if these two guys will just bang in the middle. I see this fight possibly being very passive, because Dalcha's kind of like the old Woodley where he just likes to back up and counter strike. But the difference being is that Dalcha will actually grapple and clinch for takedowns. He'll do blast doubles, kind of like Yoel Romero, where he just wouldn't control much and his opponent will get back up. But Pumiel kind of had a weakness to chain wrestling of Maximov. I'm sure he went to wrestling camp right after that fight, so it's hard to imagine it still being an issue, but it could be. But then again, Dalcha's not the kind of guy to chain wrestle. He's more to hit you with hard counter strikes and blast those doubles, or like a judo style takedown from the clinch. He's not chain wrestling too much. Yeah, that might be a good. This one may be a really good spot for the over, and maybe even fight goes to decision. And if it's super close, I mean, you can flip a coin. If you want to flip a coin, you want to be on the underdog. So Dalcha Langemboula, I think, his chin and all that shit is largely overstated. He's got the tank to go. He used to be, keep in mind, he used to be a light heavyweight. This guy's fought Ankalaev. So he's been in there with extremely skilled fighters. That's another reason I want to pick him. He also has more experience. So be my guest. Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate. It's kind of a fun one. And then I watched a Lauren Murphy interview where she said she had C. diff going into the Valentina fight and had to deal with the side effects of that really bad infection. She could have infected everyone at the event. It was crazy for her to just say that out loud. Makes her look really bad, in my opinion. And I understand why she wouldn't want to pull out, trust me. And now she gets COVID and has to move the Miesha Tate fight down a few weeks. So the UFC wants fresh meat for Valentina, and Tate matches up surprisingly well to strip that belt off of Valentina. He showed a clear weakness in wrestling and some poor fight IQ in the clinch several times in the Santos fight. Maybe she didn't respect her enough, so it just got sloppy. I don't know, but it's not like she was pulling her ahead in many of the rounds anyway. So Miesha Tate, maybe even Miesha Tate by submission. Lauren Murphy was super cut up at weigh-ins. She looked great. I would not discount her cardio at all. But Miesha Tate is a larger woman, technically. She's coming down from bantamweight. And she's fighting in flyweight against more of a natural flyweight. And Lauren Murphy's got some broad shoulders on her. Tate's fought women like Holly Holm. How can you see Lauren Murphy striking and think that Miesha Tate wouldn't be able to deal with that in comparison to many other fighters that have been champions, ground game included. So it's hard not to just smash her and just put her in a parlay. So Miesha Tate should get it done. I mean, it's her fight to lose, really. It would be crazy to see Murphy just spoil this. That alone means you maybe shouldn't parlay her, but because it is women's MMA, and we do know Adelaide Bird is now judging, so fuck everything, right? Fuck this sport's integrity. Miesha Tate by decision or late submission. Shane Burgos versus Charles Jourdain. And I love this fight. I mean, I can't wait for it, actually. It's a good one. I hope that it is a good fight and one guy just doesn't look overmatched or whatever. And even though it would say a lot about one fighter, if that did happen. But the tape showed me that maybe you need to pick Charles Jourdain in this fight. The way he finds strikes and doesn't just settle into a pocket war, the way Burgos wants to do, is something that could be very sneaky for Burgos. And Charles Jourdain has odd timing, odd strike angles, unconventional, and maybe finds a strike here, puts him away. I mean, we've seen Burgos. I asked myself this question. It's just an open-ended question. It's like, who is Calvin Kattar and Edson Barbosa finished recently in their career? You know, these are top guys, but at the highest level, they're not necessarily finishing people. So the idea that Shane Burgos can just endure Charles Jourdain and his random ass power, because he finds the chin and he finds a way to win, and so does Shane Burgos. But Shane Burgos just stands in the pocket a little too much for me, immobile, and maybe I'm seeing things wrong there, but Jourdain is going to find an angle to hurt him. So I think maybe this fight doesn't go the distance, and maybe it does finish. Third round finish might be a good pick either way. I mean, Burgos had Billy Q really hurt. Like, he fucked up his leg really bad. Had him on the cage. You know, that guy's super durable. Charles Jourdain, he can be finished, so he can be finished at the UFC level. But I like the underdog in the fight, because you know it's super close. It's going to be a coin flip, and where do you want your money in a coin flip? It's usually the underdog. So, Charles Jourdain. And round 3 would be extremely profitable. So, Matt Schnell versus Sumaderji. So, if you've been following along, or in the card, I talked about how Jessica Penney and Ducati both fought Daniel Taylor. So Matt Schnell and Sumaderji both fought Smolka. And what does Smolka do to Sumaderji? He just goes out, instantly clinches him, wears him down, finds the submission. It looks super easy. Like, he just blows him over in the wind with his lackadaisical grappling and just snakes his way in and takes him out, finds the opening. And now Matt Schnell fights Smolka. And what happens in that fight? This is MMA math at its highest level, folks. But Matt Schnell submits this guy. So why on earth will Matt Schnell not be able to do the same thing to Sumaderji? Has Sumaderji shown anything to say that he has fixed his tendency to back against the fence, to pressure? I'm not sure. Like, a Jared Gordon knockout tells me nothing about this guy. Or Malcolm Gordon, sorry. Like, the Zaruk Adashev, not a ton. But Zaruk Adashev just gets styled on by Ode Osborne. So, you know, it's up to you if you want to parlay this guy, but I will not be. I will be going where the money is, baby. And should it hit, you know, Matt Schnell, great opportunity to make a buck that night. The UFC wants him to win. He had the reality show. He's a good guy. You know, he went out and still fought after losing his mother, and still dropped his opponent, and just unfortunately got caught, because that's, if he can fix that ability to just rush into things and just kind of think for a second and analyze what his opponent's trying to do, or go with a position or in a fight, rather than just rush into a finish or rush into a submission or something. You know, it works at a lower level, but at the UFC, of course, it gets you caught. So I know that's what everyone thinks is going to happen in this fight, but I like the idea of Matt Schnell keeping it together, seeing a game plan through, proving he's a professional fighter, and overcoming a reasonable challenge in Sumaderji, who has a clear path to losing this fight. So Schnell at weigh-ins looked to be very similar size this guy. Sumaderji does have a little bit of length and but less thickness, so that just tells me he can get roughed around in the clinch and in the grappling, as long as Schnell chooses to find it and has been actually working his skills. You know, parallel skill sets. Reality is that Matt Schnell has trained his grappling longer than Sumaderji. There's no way they can ever meet in the middle as long as Matt Schnell is continuing to train. So as long as that is happening, Sumaderji will always have the skill gap to someone like Matt Schnell. And it's possible, if not probable, tomorrow that happens. So I like it. Matt Schnell by submission or decision. Just finish, maybe. Because Malcolm Gordon, man, he looked amazing in that fight, Sumaderji. I just can't judge anything off of it. So Matt Schnell, love you, brother. Hope you get it done. For the team. Team Matt. Jinglang Li versus Muslim Salikov. Initially, I just instant parlayed Salikov. And I think I still might. He's a thick guy. He's safe. He doesn't make stupid decisions. He is a little older, of course, and Jinglang can run away with the fight because of that, depending on how the early rounds go, and if he can find a shot and just kind of wear him off or just get him out of there. Muslim just has this ability to take the fight where he needs to in any given moment. It gives him maybe a sweaty decision, something like that. That's kind of how I just saw this fight happening at first take. I don't think anything's really changed. I mean, Jinglang Li somehow got popular because he got his ass submitted easily by Khamzat Chimaev. So, I mean, Khamzat's a hype train right now, but, I mean, Jinglang Li is a fun fighter. He's not overrated here at all. I mean, the line's perfect, I would say. I don't like the way Ponzinibbio fought against him. It was very sloppy. He just kind of ran into the pocket and exited sloppy with his guard completely open and just got caught by the third strike in a combination, which is pretty sloppy for him. He's usually a better boxer than that. So if I remember correctly, that was maybe his first fight coming back off of injury and whatever else was going on with him in his professional career, because we didn't see him for a while. So that's something to consider when handicapping this fight. So Muslim Salikov, most likely by a decision. He will wrestle if he doesn't feel comfortable striking. And Jinglang Li, of course, has shown an ability to get taken down. This is also a fight I think might have like a point deduction because Jinglang is a dirty fighter. So enjoy this one. It's fun. Michelle Waterson Gomez versus Amanda Memosh. They size up pretty well on the face-offs. And Amanda Memosh getting standing arm triangled by Andrade is a massive red flag to me about taking a favorite this wide. It just doesn't show any real instinct or grappling instinct or knowledge. Maybe she just panicked, but that's a huge red flag. And she is not really finished many girls that are at the level of Michelle Waterson, so this fight could be a decision, and Michelle can find her grappling. She's been working her strength, especially bulk up into the weight class if she was going to continue fighting, but maybe she's just going to be an Instagram model. We'll see. But I can't, in good conscience, pick Amanda Memosh in this fight. Even if she wins, I don't care. Michelle Waterson is the better bet. I will not be parlaying that chick. She has not sold me whatsoever. And beating Angela Hill and landing a random up kick does not convince me, because I'm pretty sure she lost that fight. So, or she could have lost the fight. I just remember her fading. It seemed like a hard weight cut too. So Waterson puts a pace. She's gonna outpace her by the second half of the second round and possibly win the fight from there in a split decision with Adelaide Bird as your favorite judge. No, I really hope not. I hope that judges can get it right. I don't even want to joke about it. It hurts the integrity of the sport. So Michelle Waterson by decision would be pretty sick. Let's see what happens. Or even she found her submission, because I'm telling you, standing arm triangled, major red flag. Major. Andrade might be on all the steroids ever, but it takes about 6 months of grappling to never be able to get standing arm triangled again. So what's going on in that fight? Other than her mind just collapsing. I don't know. It's a lot of pressure. I understand. You're in a cage fight. And it's Jessica Andrade, ex-champion. But didn't like it. Michelle Waterson. Let's get it done, baby. And your main event, Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Brian Ortega's fight to lose. He has to abandon a lot of what he became to lose his fight. But maybe I guess what I mean by what he became is how he found these third round submissions. He would weather down these guys that were better technically than him usually and make them make a glaring mistake in their approach in the fight, and he would force it and find a way. I don't even want to say Ortega would be the slower guy, because he's looked pretty quick and fights line correctly. I think it's cool to parlay Ortega. I think it's cool to fish for him by submission in rounds. Do you want to bet him by round 3 submission and then he just goes out in the first grappling exchange he submits this, Yair Rodriguez, who is not even close to his level? This is like the Matt Schnell Sumaderji thing. So Yair Rodriguez's grappling will always be here compared to a Brian Ortega. As long as they keep training, they'll never really surpass the others. So how could Yair Rodriguez ever technically survive on the mat, except for just developing his basics to perfection, to defend and never really open himself on the mat? And he's shown an ability to go for takedowns. He went for them against Touchy Feely, and he went for them against Jeremy Stevens, and they worked for him. It would be fucking crazy if he went out there and wrestled Brian Ortega. And he just survived the ground game and was just battering him. That would be pretty nutty. It would also more than likely be a death sentence. People expect Yair Rodriguez to just style on him on the feet. And I don't know if it's going to be like that. But Ortega's going to trade. He's in the main event. You know he's going to bite down. Or you think he's going to bite down. If he just goes out and executes a perfect game plan, that's what he needs to do to get to the title shot. You can't look weak against Yair. Yair, this fight goes to a decision. What do you guys think will happen? I think it's more than likely Yair Rodriguez decision. I mean, Brian Ortega maybe does get output by Yair Rodriguez. So that's something to consider. Maybe if you bet Yair, you only bet him by decision. Why even bet the money line? I mean, he does find these crazy finishes. Brian Ortega, they wouldn't even let this guy go out on his stool. And he was getting hammered by Max and Volk. They could have easily stopped the fight. And Ortega endured it and had his moments, right? So most likely just Yair by submission, or Yair by, why did I accidentally say that if that happens now? It's like the Glover fight. Yair Rodriguez by decision, Brian Ortega inside the distance. It seems to match up pretty well with me. Yeah, probably the over 1.5 would be fairly safe. But another episode of FireSide Chat. Another wonderful card we've broken down. And I had a ton of fun. I love this shit. So, I hope you did too. And I hope you do too. And we'll see you again in another FireSide Chat.